Hello, thank you for joining us today. If today is the first time that you've joined us, we welcome you. And if you have joined us before, we welcome you back. My name is Donna. Today's webinar topic is travelling in retirement. My colleague Anish and I are excited to be your webinar presenters today. Anish will be joining us a little later on. Both Anish and I are Financial Information Service officers, and our aim is to guide you through important information you need to know about travelling in retirement. Behind the webinar scenes, we have a talented production team, and we are all delighted that you could join us today, and we look forward to building your financial literacy. I'm joining you from Noongar country. The Whadjuk people are the traditional custodians of the lands where I sit. I would like to pause and say thanks to the Whadjuk people for looking after these lands and waterways. I am very grateful for the ongoing connections to both culture and land. These connections allow me to work and play in this area. Today, as we are a collective from many different lands, I would also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of all the different lands we live on and that where you are joining us from. Now for a little bit of housekeeping. If you're attending our webinar as a live event, there is a question and answer feature that you can access to ask questions while the webinar is in progress. You will find it at the top right-hand side of your screen. You'll notice that you can see an icon that looks a little bit like a speech bubble with a question mark on it. Use this to ask any questions along the way. To protect your privacy, please use your first name only, or tick the box to send your questions anonymously. We have a team of moderators from our Financial Information Service on hand to answer your questions. And if they think your question would be useful for others to see, they may publish it. Otherwise, they'll just reply directly back to you. And for those watching us on YouTube after today's live event, you can find the links shared during the event in the webinar summary section. Today's information is brought to you by the Financial Information Service, or FIS for short. As FIS officers, we talk to people like yourselves about all things financial, helping you to understand your options so that you can make informed decisions. It is important that I clarify we are not a financial advisory service. We do not provide financial advice or tell you what to do with your money. Instead, we offer free, confidential and impartial information for everyone in Australia, including people not on Centrelink payments. We can provide you with information on how your options and choices may impact your pension. By providing you with this information, it can help you to take control of your finances with confidence, so that you can make the choices that best suit your circumstances. Today, our presentation will take us through income and assets, what they are and how we assess them, rates of payment, what is the full amount of payment, and we'll look at that in a dollar figure, rent assistance, what are those amounts and the eligibilities? Travelling within Australia. Now, this is where I'll give you a few hints on things to think about. We'll take a look at concession cards and how they work while we travel, going overseas, and online services. So now's the time to get comfy and we'll get started with our presentation. Before we do get started though, just a quick reminder that today's presentation provides general information only. Everyone's circumstances are different, so you may need to speak to us on an individual basis for information specific to your situation. The information in today's webinar is current as at the 13th of the 11th, 2025. However, payments, rates and thresholds do change over time. For the most up-to-date details, we encourage you to visit our website for further information. Now, our website is servicesaustralia.gov.au. Our moderators will pop a link into the chat for you now. While I was preparing for today's webinar, I came across some interesting stats. I learned that there are approximately 800,000 registered RVs in Australia, and I'm one of those owners. And I also learned that in the last decade, there has been a 90% increase in the number of retirees spending part of the year travelling around this country. Now, this makes sense as to why it can be hard to get a booking at our favourite campsites. For many people, it is a dream to explore and travel around in Australia in our retirement. I know it's on the top of my retirement bucket list. Some will explore for short periods of time and others for longer times. And I think it's fair to say that most will wonder what will happen to their pension during this time. And might even ask, will my house be an asset while I'm travelling? These are very common questions that are frequently asked of me as a financial information service officer. So let's take some time to talk through them now. Your pension is generally unaffected by short-term travel within Australia. Your principal home is considered an exempt asset for up to 12 months. This is often referred to as a temporary vacation from your principal home. You will continue to be assessed as a homeowner. However, if you rent out your home during that 12-month period, the net rental income will become assessable in the income test and may have an effect on your pension rate. If you are travelling grey nomad style, then your caravan, motorhome or boat is assessed as an asset, just like it is when you're at home. So that's a non-financial asset. Now, this is because you can only have one home exempt from the assets test. If you are lucky enough to travel for more than 12 months, we will no longer exempt your home. It will be included in your assets. Your caravan, motorhome or boat then becomes your principal home, and you may then be eligible for rent assistance for the site and mooring fees. Anish is going to go over rent assistance with us a little later on. When we think of travelling in retirement, we often jump to that grey nomad style of travel, where we have our homes and houses with us all the time. However, you might also be away from your home visiting family and friends, where you've taken a flight to get there, or you've gone on a road trip and you're staying at more fixed accommodation, such as a bed and breakfast, or with your family. So if you're doing this type of travel and you are away from your home for up to 12 months, we still call this a temporary absence or vacation from your principal home. You remain being assessed under the homeowner test and not eligible for rent assistance for any costs of accommodation you might have. Many pensioners find that when they travel, they have an opportunity to do some work. This can help to offset the rising costs of fuel and site fees. Now, you are going to need to report your earnings to us so that we can continue to pay you the correct rate of pension. The easiest way to do this is via MyGov and your linked Centrelink account. Anish is also going to talk us through online services and our options there. I mentioned earlier that if you rent out your home, the net rent is counted as income. It's also a good idea to check with the Australian Taxation Office on how they view this income. Some of you might be thinking, what if I don't own my own home? What happens to my pension when I travel? We will need to ask you a few more questions, like will you be keeping your rental accommodation while you travel? How long will you be going away for? And when will you return? Will you go back to your previous rental accommodation? When you don't own your own home, in most cases you are assessed as a non-homeowner. So the higher asset thresholds apply. Your caravan, motorhome or boat is assessed as a non-financial asset, and you may be eligible for rent assistance for the site or mooring fees that you are paying. If you are travelling and maintaining your rented property, it is important to know that you will not be able to receive rent assistance for both the rented home and your site fees. We will continue to pay your rent assistance based on the rent paid on the rental home and refer to this as your principal home. If you are travelling and not returning to your previous rented home, then you may find that your caravan, motorhome or boat becomes your home and you are then assessed as a homeowner. And this can happen immediately when you vacate your rental. So again, it is very important to discuss individual circumstances before finalising your travel plans so that you can understand if there's going to be any changes to your rate of payment and that you can do budgeting accordingly. If you do lose your eligibility to the pension while you're travelling, we encourage you to test your eligibility for a concession card. And remember that when you return from your travels, your home becomes an exempt asset again. I would also like to remind you that while you're travelling and away from your home, if you are a homeowner or not, it is a good idea to check with your insurance company to ensure that you're aware of how the insurance company views these absences. And don't forget to look at things like your mail. Who's going to collect it? Will you have a mail redirection? Have you thought about paying of bills and maintaining the lawns and gardens? What about managing your health, scripts and doctor visits and the like while you're travelling? Will you need people to make inquiries on your behalf? Say that's with Centrelink, the bank, or your service providers such as gas and electricity. Do you have the correct forms lodged with them in case you can't manage things while you're on the road? It might be due to lack of connectivity, or you're just having way too much fun to be worried about what's happening at home. Let's now take our minds back to the pensions and what's included in assessing the rate of payment. We will start with the income test and how it interacts with the pension payments. Your eligibility for pension is determined not only by your age and residence, but also your income and assets. Generally, we assess your income to know how much we need to pay you. This will include things like gross wages and earnings from employment, salary sacrificed income, certain income streams, foreign income, rental and business income, and of course, deemed income on your financial investments. You can always refer to our website to learn more about what we consider to be income when assessing your payment. The income you have may affect your rate of payment under our income test. Let's say you are a single pensioner. For every dollar you earn above $218 in a fortnight, your rate of payment will reduce by 50 cents until you reach the cutoff point of $2,575.40 a fortnight. In other words, you could have income of up to $66,960.40 in the year without losing your pension or concessions. And that's before applying any work bonus. For our members of a couple, the principle is the same, but the amounts are a little different. You could have combined income of $380 a fortnight before seeing any reduction to your rate of payment. The cutoff point is $3,934 a fortnight, or up to $102,284 per year, without losing your pension or concessions. And once again, that's before applying any work bonus. So what is this work bonus? The work bonus is a scheme that helps reduce the amount of your employment income that counts toward the income test for your pension. Work bonus isn't an extra payment that you get. It lets you keep more of your pension if you are working, even if you're working while travelling and exploring Australia. It's an incentive for older Australians to participate in the workforce by offsetting some of your employment income. Now, the great news is you don't need to apply for the work bonus. We'll apply it to your eligible income if you meet all the eligibility rules. Why not have a chat with a FIS officer to get a better understanding on the work bonus eligibility rules and how this may impact your individual circumstances? So that's our income. Let's have a look at the assets. When looking at assets, we look at the type and value of any assets you own, both in and outside of Australia. Some of these assets will typically include your motor vehicles, household contents, personal effects, and financial assets. Your financial assets include things such as bank accounts, loans, superannuation, deposits or bonds, and shares. Other assets can include real estate, investment properties, and some properties where your land exceeds 5 acres or 2 hectares. Farms, businesses, collectibles, and gifting are also assets. With gifting, there is a gift-free area of $10,000 in a financial year and $30,000 over a 5-year rolling period. For more information, please talk to our FIS team or visit our website. When valuing assets, we look at the current value for financial investments such as bank accounts, superannuation, and shares. Your statements will give you those values. For other assets such as motor vehicles or household contents, we generally accept your estimate. With real estate, we may accept your estimated value or conduct further checks to determine its value. Or we might even arrange for a formal valuation of the property to take place, and there'll be no cost to you. To keep your record up to date, we may also apply an annual indexation to value your real estate properties. When reviewing your farming assets, we will generally ask for the current market value of your stock, plant, and equipment. It is important to know that where there are significant changes, it is your responsibility to update those changes with us within 14 days of that change happening. Please don't assume that we know what's in your bank account. Now, we do also have things called exempt assets. Usually your home and surrounding 5 acres of land or 2 hectares is an exempt asset. However, anything over this amount can count as an asset. In some situations, we may be able to exempt the additional land known as curtilage under what we call the extended land use test. This depends on your age, how long you've lived at the property, and what you are doing with the land. It's best to have a chat with us directly about your individual circumstances. You may have a temporary vacation from your principal home for up to 1 year, where it will be exempt from the assets test. And as we've been chatting, this is usually when we go travelling or holidaying. After the 1 year, your home may be assessed as an asset. Now, if you're permanently entering a residential aged care home, normally your principal home is exempt for 2 years from the assets test from when you vacate your home. In both the travelling and entering care situation, if you rent your home during these periods, the income may be assessable. Now, we do have some other exempt assets, and they may include lump sum accommodation payments for residential aged care facilities, prepaid funerals, cemetery plots, and funeral bonds that are up to $15,750, and money placed in special disability trusts, though this is subject to a reviewed capped amount. Now, superannuation may also be an exempt asset if you are under age pension age and the funds are in the accumulation phase. Now, this means that you haven't yet transferred your superannuation into an income stream. If you are of age pension age, your superannuation is an assessable asset no matter what phase your superannuation is in. Let's now take a look at these asset tests and thresholds. So as you can see from the current slide, there are different thresholds and cutout points for singles and partnered couples, homeowners and non-homeowners. I will give you a few moments to have a look at where you fit within these numbers. Once your assets exceed the threshold amount, your pension reduces by $3 for every $1,000 over that amount, until you reach the cutout point where the pension is no longer payable. When we look at the homeowner status, someone can actually be considered a homeowner even if they may not own their place of residence. Now, these include those living in granny flat arrangements or retirement village units. The amount they pay to create this living arrangement determines their home ownership status. This is called the extra allowable amount. The extra allowable amount is currently $258,000, and this is reviewed on the 1st of July each year. So if you pay over this amount, you are considered a homeowner. And if you pay under this amount, you are a non-homeowner, where in some circumstances, you may be eligible for rent assistance. Now, I did promise we'd look at the current rates of payment. So current rates of payment for both single and partners is currently being shown on the screen for you. It is important that you know that the maximum rates are reviewed every March and September on the 20th day, which means that the cutout points adjust as well. So it is important to review your situation regularly and keep your record up to date with any changes. I am often asked which test is going to apply to my pension. We determine your rate of payment under both the income and asset test. What this means is that we assess both your assets and your income. We then compare the two tests against each other, with the lower rate of payment being applied. So if your assets are higher than your income, then we'll pay you under the assets test. And if your income is higher than your assets, then we may pay you under the income test. This comparison then happens each time that you update us with changes to your income and assets. You are required to provide significant changes to us within 14 days of the change. Now, additional information to note here is that a person can change their rate from the income test to the assets test and back again regularly, depending on their level of income and assets. Now, this is especially prevalent for customers with varying income, which could be attributed to part-time or casual work. And a great example of this might be when we're travelling and picking up work as we go to help extend our travel dreams. I will now introduce you to Anish. Over to you now, Anish.
Thank you, Donna, for providing the valuable information to our lovely audience. Hello, everyone. My name is Anish, and I'm one of the Financial Information Service Officers, also known as FIS Officer. I will take you through to the rest of the topic, and we'll start with the rent assistance. What is rent assistance? Rent assistance is the regular extra payment you may be eligible for if you pay rent for your primary residence and get certain payment from Centrelink, such as income support payment, app study, and family tax benefit. Now let's talk further about who can get rent assistance. You need to meet some rules to get rent assistance. If you meet the rules, we pay you automatically and you don't need to apply. As I mentioned previously, you need to be getting an eligible payment, and you also need to meet rules about the rent type and amount of accommodation. Rent assistance may be payable if you pay private rent, lodging fees, boarding and lodging fees, site or mooring fees, and maintenance fees in an over 55s village or lifestyle park. I would also like to mention the circumstances where you may not qualify for rent assistance. Rent assistance is not payable for the house you own, even though you have a mortgage on the property. Similarly, if you live in the public housing and pay rent towards the state and territory housing authority, you are not eligible for the rent assistance. This is because the rent you pay is already subsidized by the state or territory housing authority. Another example where rent assistance is not payable is for homeowners who travel away from the principal home for less than 12 months. This is because we still consider you as a homeowner and exempt your home from the asset test for 12 months. Rent assistance is also not payable for customers who reside in the government subsidized aged care facilities or nursing homes. Now let's discuss about the evidence which we require to pay you the rent assistance. If you tell us you are renting when you claim a payment, we may ask for a proof. We use this to check whether if you can get rent assistance or not. If we ask you to give us a proof of your rent arrangements to get rent assistance, you can submit a copy of a formal tenancy agreement, or it's also known as a lease agreement, or a copy of the rent certificate. If you don't have a formal tenancy agreement, then we can accept a rent certificate. However, in that case, it must be signed by both you and your landlord. We can send you a copy of the rent certificate upon request. We will also send you a rent certificate when you lodge a new claim and a formal tenancy agreement is not provided, or when you update your address and accommodation details online, on phone, at a service center, or by post. While we are discussing about the rent assistance, I would also like to mention about the types of landlords who can receive rent from you. Firstly, in some situation, you rent out the premises directly from the owner and pay rent directly to them. In this situation, the owner of the premises is considered a landlord. Alternatively, some owners hire a real estate agent or sign a contract with the agency to manage their premises. In this case, the real estate agent or the agency is considered a landlord as they have a contract to act between the owner and yourself. If you travel around Australia in caravan park and pay caravan park fees to use their facilities, then you pay those fees to the owner or manager, and in that case, they are considered a landlord. Now let's understand how much rent assistance you get. The amount of rent assistance you can get depends on various factors, such as how much rent you pay, whether you are partnered or single, and whether you are sharing accommodation with others or not. The maximum rent assistance is payable for single, non-sharer customer who is in receipt of income support payment is $215.40 per fortnight, and for couple combined, it is $203 per fortnight. Different rates apply if you are sharing or in receipt of family tax benefit. For more information on rates, please visit Services Australia website and search for rent assistance. Now I'm going to discuss how the rate of age pension affects if you travel overseas. For the first 6 weeks, there is no change to the rate. This means that you would get the same rate of age pension you would normally get while in Australia. From 6 weeks to 26 weeks, there is a loss of some supplements only. The basic rate plus basic supplement is still payable. From week 26, the base rate becomes a proportion of your working life residence in Australia between the age of 16 to the age pension age. If this is less than 35 years, it will result in a pro rata rate of base pension. These rules is specific for the age pension. However, different rules applies if you are getting different types of payment from Centrelink. You also need to be aware of the other considerations, such as rent assistance is payable for up to 26 weeks under the temporary absence portability period rule. There may be no portability if you are a former resident. Please check the Services Australia website for more information. Before you go overseas, there are a few things you need to be mindful of. Make sure you notify us before you travel overseas. You can do so online via MyGov account. In most cases, immigration would inform us when you depart and arrive. However, if you travel for extended period of time or if you travel via cruise, then you must notify us so that we can check your correct entitlements. If you want to go overseas for more than 6 months, we recommend informing our international services on 131673 to record your traveling details and to know how it would affect the rate of your pension. It is also a good idea checking on the biosecurity rules of Australia and the countries you are traveling. The most important part is to check your passport validity and visa requirements of the countries you are traveling. This is to avoid any last minute disappointment at the airport. Upon return to Australia, you only need to contact us if your payment or concession card is not active. Now let's talk about concession cards and some further resources and services available from Services Australia. If you are in receipt of pension, you will automatically be issued with a pensioner concession card, the card on the left. This may also be issued if you have been in receipt of another income support payment, such as a job seeker, for more than 9 months and you have turned 60 years of age. A healthcare card, the card on the right, is automatically issued to income support payments such as job seeker, parenting payment, youth allowance, and special benefit. Concession cards assist people receiving income support, low income earners, and their dependents to access concessional rate pharmaceuticals and other medical services funded by the Australian government. Some examples of concessions include cheaper medications under the pharmaceutical benefit scheme, bulk bill doctor visits. However, this is up to your doctor or medical practice to accept or not. Bigger refund for medical cost when you reach the Medicare safety net. Help with hearing services. These cards may also give customers access to other concessions provided and funded by the state and local governments. They may reduce your utility bills, council rates and water rates, public transport fares, motor vehicle registration and licensing fees. These pensioner concession card and healthcare card are from federal government and are separate to the state government seniors cards. Please refer to your state government for more information and eligibility criteria. By now, you have a good understanding of how income and assets are assessed. You may also like to use our payment and service finder tool. You can find it on our website by typing in payment finder and following the prompts. Our website is servicesaustralia.gov.au. The tool can be used to estimate rates of payment based on your current financial position or to estimate the rate if a change in your circumstances in the future, such as if your earnings are increased or decreased, change in the relationship status, and change in the accommodation status, such as becoming a homeowner or becoming a non-homeowner. Now, I would like to introduce you to the Money Smart website. This is a website brought to you by the Australian Securities and Investment Commission. The main purpose of this website is to gain financial education and awareness. Every day, we all make significant decisions about money. Making informed decisions leads to a greater financial well-being. That's where Money Smart comes in. Money Smart offers guidance for all Australians, helps you make confident money decisions, whatever your situation is and wherever you find yourself in life. The free tools, tips, and calculators help people of all ages, backgrounds, and incomes to be in control of their financial lives. Some of the popular tools are Budget Planner and Superannuation Calculator. Money Smart website can also help with budgeting, particularly if your income or expenses have changed, such as when giving up work or planning for your travel. The website is also useful for retirement and estate planning, comparing superannuation funds and insurance policies, investment options, how to find a registered financial planner, scams and online safety, and much more. This slide shows that there are several options available for you to access self-service such as MyGov, Express Plus mobile apps, and phone self-service. You can skip the queue and choose the option that is best suited to your time and convenience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Be assured we keep all your personal and financial details private under the Privacy Act 1988. There are various resources such as online guides and videos that are available to help you make the most of your online accounts and Express Plus mobile apps. These include step-by-step instructions for many common self-service transactions you can do in your online account, such as create a MyGov account and link services to MyGov, report employment income, update your income and assets and advise of travel outside Australia for centering purpose, check your payments, update your contact details, advise of a non-agency payment, or update your income for child support. Submit an online claim for Medicare as well. So there are quite a few features which you can use these online services to use of. Now I will talk about an option of nominating someone to act on your behalf for centering purposes. You may only want a little or a lot of help to deal with us. You can authorize a person or an organization to do this. They can ask questions, make updates, act on your behalf, and get your payments. The type of arrangement you choose is depends on what you need. You can choose a nominee. There are two types of nominees, a correspondence nominee and a payment nominee. Or a correspondence nominee can ask questions about your Centrelink benefits and services, including age care cost, tell us about changes to your circumstances, respond to requests for information, update income and details, update income and asset details, attend appointments, complete and sign forms and statements on your behalf, get copies of your letters from Centrelink and about your age care cost, claim payments and services for you. They can also use online guides to complete some tasks for you. You can authorize a person or organization to receive your Centrelink payments. We call them a payment nominee. Your Centrelink payments will go straight into your payment nominee's bank account, not yours. How can financial information service can help? As Donna has already mentioned, this is a free, confidential, and impartial service available to all people and can include, but is not limited to, topics such as financial literacy and capability, understanding superannuation, understanding investment options, planning for retirement, accommodation options, and much more. Just a reminder that we are not financial advisor, planners, or counselors. How to contact us? Financial information service officers can be contacted via a phone service by contacting 132 300 and saying financial information service, video chat appointments through Microsoft Teams via MyGov account, face-to-face appointments in most of our service centers, outreach to community groups and events, webinars such as these. Customers can call and speak to us in their own language by calling the multilingual phone service. Indigenous customers are also able to speak to Indigenous customer service staff, and in addition, customers can speak to a social worker about issues that may be affecting them. Social workers from Services Australia are available over the phone and in person at some service centers. A social worker can provide short-term counseling, support, and refer customers to external organizations. Some examples of how social workers can help include people experiencing family and domestic violence and unsupported young people. Social workers can also direct you to other supports and services to assist you. You can ask to speak to a social worker by phoning 132850 or by visiting your local service center. Lastly, I would like to mention about the DVA. The Department of Veterans Affairs was established to fulfill the nation's duty to support our serving and ex-serving ADF members and their families. DVA is a global leader in the provision of services and supports to ADF veterans and veteran families. To learn more, please visit their website as noted on this slide, dva.gov.au. Thank you. Donna and I have provided you with a lot of information and it is a lot to take in. Remember, you can view the recording of this webinar on the Services Australia website, and you can also contact the Financial Information Service to discuss your situation or individual circumstances. I would also like to take this opportunity to invite you to attend our next webinar, Financial Fitness and Budgeting, that will run live on Thursday, 11th of December. Please book your spot now on Services Australia website. On behalf of the whole webinar crew, we thank you for joining us today and hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.